Hey,
There she
Scott.
is. Hi, Lisa.
Hey, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. How are you?
We are doing really, really great.
Is it, what's the temperature up there? What's the weather like?
So we've had too much rain, which is normal in the winter. And so today was actually a little sunny, and we're in about, I guess I was inside in the warehouse all day, but I think it was like mid 40s. So it was bearable,
Yeah,
It's winter, right?
yeah, it is. It is. So, knowing how it's going on with you, I got inspired to wear my Flower Podcast shirt.
Oh, always branded.
I haven't worn this shirt nearly enough. But anyway, so you inspired me to wear my shirt. So there you go.
Well, people kind of come to recognize you by that,
I
I
know.
mean, so it looks great. Good look.
Thanks. Well, so for people joining on, we have a couple things going on tonight. So I'm really excited because we're doing a giveaway, and we're doing a
Yep.
giveaway with Lisa's products. I'm excited. Do you have a copy of the book?
Of course I do.
Of course you do. So we're giving away one copy of Cool Flowers with, this is the, like it couldn't get better than that. The online course, Cool Flowers Beyond the Book for Flower Farming.
Yep.
And so that's great. You're going to get both of those things. And we're giving away a second gift today, and that is 2 more courses. You probably can say them quicker than I can.
Sure. Seed starting made easy, and also the Easy Cut Flower Garden, both about a little bit more than an hour-long courses of each. Yeah.
That's great. So for everybody that's joining, in order to win, you need to make a comment down below, whether it's asking a question, telling us where you're located, saying how much you love Lisa, all these wonderful things. Just make a comment, and that's an official entry, okay? And then
Awesome.
at the end of the episode, we're going to pick the winner right now, tonight, when we're done. And you're going to find out who wins tonight. So it's really, really, it's a lot of fun. We had fun last night doing it. So I'm kind of glad we're doing this. Lisa, I got home today, and you greeted me in the mailbox. I got
Awesome. So
I couldn't believe I got it. Huh?
You're the first person to tell me that you got it. We never know when they're going to land. So great.
Yeah. Well, it was so fun. And I've never gotten your catalog before, and I was amazed at everything that was in it. Um, I've heard you say this before, and I think this is what I love about your catalog especially, is this is stuff you use.
Mm-hmm.
So this is not fluff. This is,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, to the frustration, actually, of many people selling tools, the salesmen, because they want us to sell more stuff.
Right.
But, I mean, we try, it's the stuff that I use. I use one hoe, well, 2 hoes, a hand hoe and a stand-up hoe.
Yeah.
There are a lot of other hoes, but I just don't find it necessary to have more than one,
Yeah.
So that's kind of what our niche is. I only sell what I use and the same seeds that we grow in our garden.
Sure. Now, somebody asked in the questions that are flying by, how can they get this catalog?
So you've already met, we only mail twice a year, January, which that is the one that just went out.
Mm-hmm.
And then we mail again in July. However, if you place an order with thegardenersworkshop.com, you'll get a catalog. And I will tell you, we discussed this today. Our business has grown so incredibly. I mean, it just keeps on growing. We thought we had enough catalogs to last for 6 months to go into boxes, but we have already blown through 2 boxes, and we only had the catalogs for like 6 days. So what I'm saying is, if you really want a catalog, you better hop to it.
Yeah, yeah.
But in the coming days, you will be able to look at the PDF of that catalog on our website too.
Okay, so I mean, you can save paper that way too, and mailing and all that kind of stuff. I want to just take a second here and flip through, make sure there's not any other questions. Here's a Poppy question. We'll get to that here in a second. Thank you guys. I know everybody here loves Lisa. And oh, that's sweet. Loving the podcast. All right, great. Somebody else got their catalog today too. So
Oh, good.
yeah, yeah. So, class has started, right?
Right. So 2 of our new school courses start this week. Yesterday, Ellen Frost's course, Growing Your Business with Local Flower Sourcing, started yesterday. And I will tell you, we have already just got, you're in it, right?
I know. I just watched the very first video just a few minutes ago.
So it's just an amazing course. So her course has already started, and then our greenhouse and hoop house course of Grow and Cut Flowers with Steve and Gretel starts on Wednesday. And I will tell you guys, these courses are they just blow me away. You know what I mean? It's like to watch them and to realize the volume of content, and it's just really, really amazing. We're just thrilled to death. We're just thrilled.
Well, the thing I love too about tonight is that by people winning a couple of the smaller courses, on-demand courses, then they can get a taste of it. Because when you get, like when I got my first email telling me that I had stuff there for Ellen's course, and there's like 10 videos to watch already.
Yep.
I'm like, I can't wait to dive into it. I'm really excited about it. And I mean, Ellen's great, and so it'll be good. So
it'll just really, her course will really tune up people, perk their little ears up to what it really means to use local flowers, the benefits. And you don't have to go 100% of how you can add that to your existing business and just make it grow your business, and so I'm really excited for that to happen. We're just really, really stoked. And so just because I know somebody's going to ask, registration only happens once a year. And it won't happen again until November, but y'all, that is going to be here in the blink of an eye. So if you go to our website, you can sign up on her course page to get notified, and she sends out a lot of great information to folks that are on her course news list. So that's just an idea for folks.
Oh, sure. Well, I know when I was recording my last week, or the past podcast episode, where I'm just sort of looking back at 2020, that was one of the things I mentioned that I really took away. I was really glad to hear when I interviewed Ellen, and that is the idea of these baby steps. You don't have to have all the answers to make the commitment on day one. You can just take those. It's kind of like a pool. You start at the shallow end and just wade your way in.
That's a great way to say it. That's a really great way to say it. And it's not just for floral designers.
Right.
Flower farmers would benefit. And I mean, listening to the talk of the team today, we were all in the warehouse together working like mad, and we have a new member, and she's primarily a flower designer. She's coming in from that.
Sure.
And to listen to our other team member that actually reviewed Ellen's course, she just turned around and said, you have got to watch this course. I mean, it's going to change your life. Just be prepared.
That's
so
awesome.
It's awesome.
Well, we do have a question, so let's just briefly kind of go over this. Is for sowing giant poppies, I'm in 5B. Didn't sow any in the fall. Can I sow indoors and plant in spring? What would you suggest?
So 5B is pretty north. That means that you're probably already pretty in a deep freeze. So poppies generally, in our experience, are easier to get to germinate outdoors. And that's because of temperature issues. They really need cool temperatures. So you can, in 5B, you would typically sow those about 6 weeks before your last spring frost. And if you cover them with a row cover right on top of the seeds after you sow them, that'll help give them a little bit of heat and help them to germinate. So that's what I would do, as I would sow them in the garden 6 weeks before your last spring frost, and floating row. Don't put plastic on them. Use floating row cover, which air, water, and light go through to get them to germinate. And I think you'll have good luck.
In 5B, I would think that there'd still be a chance of snow in that window.
Yeah.
Do you need to put the, support in, or how would you do that?
Well, no, because what happens when you're when you're direct seeding and you really want to try to warm them up and retain moisture, you can use the floating row cover right on top of them through that germination period. And obviously, if you have deep snow, you're going to have to wait. If you haven't prepared an area where you've created a way to pull back, like a lot of folks will put silage tarps down, prepare their bed, put a silage tarp down, and then in early spring, in a warm afternoon, when the snow kind of loosens up, they can pull the silage tarp back and get rid of the snow, and there's their prepared bed, and you could sow your poppies.
Right.
And so the seed should make contact with soil, and the row cover on top warms them up a little bit, helps them to retain moisture, and will help them to germinate. And it takes them about 7 to 14 days, so you got to be patient.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's great. I love that. I'm going to scroll down here just a second, make sure people are singing your praises as they should. Somebody just finished the Gardener's Workshop course, the basics. And yeah, that's awesome. How do you deal with algae on soil blocks?
Good question. And I will tell y'all a little secret here tonight. But you can't tell my sister that I leaked it. We've been waiting 2.5 months for a shipment from the UK, and everybody here may know what that means.
Yeah.
And we got it today. We are in possession. It will not go live. It will, anyway, we'll talk about that tomorrow, but we are so stoked. So, soil blocks. When you have algae and or mold growing on your soil blocks, that means a couple of things. Number one, that they're staying too moist all of the time. You really want your seed starting area to really be a little warm, meaning it can't be. A lot of folks try to grow in really cool conditions, like in a garage or that kind of thing. It really needs to be more like a home temperature. And because you want your soil blocks, when you water them in the morning, you want them to dry out in a 24-hour period. And if you don't have any heat going on, if it's not 70 degrees or so in there, they're just going to sit there and be wet, and they're going to start growing algae and mold. So I tell people a couple of things. You need to warm up your air temperature in that room so that your blocks go through that cycle of you water them when I water in the morning, they are bone dry. Okay. And I totally water them so that they're completely moist all the way through. I don't leave any standing water. And the next morning when I come into my grow room, they're dry again. And if you're not finding that, you need to warm up the air temperature, and that will 100% eliminate the algae and the mold. And I have not found, because I have certainly grown my share of algae and mold over the years, that it doesn't really seem to impede your seeds growing. You know what I mean? It just doesn't look good. So don't let it worry you, but you can stop it from growing by kind of warming up that air temperature.
Sure. Well, everybody, I appreciate all the wonderful comments. Here's somebody, Patty in Montreal, that it's her first year growing flowers. She's really excited. Petals and Pollen got their catalog.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, okay. So here's a question from Seal Point. How much airflow do soil blocks need?
So that's a really great question, because I don't talk about that very much because I don't really do anything. So my grow room is literally a 10 by 10 room. I am in my big work building. My studios are upstairs. My studio's upstairs. And then I have, I'm in the kitchen area. There's a 10 by 10 room here. And if there were seedlings in there, I would take y'all in there and show it, but we don't start anything till next week. And it's a 10 by 10 room with grow lights. And it's heated and air conditioned. And I don't run any fans, so we really don't do any air circulation. And we just really do not have dampening off troubles, which is typically a cool soil problem. And so there really is no air circulation other than just normal HVAC action that goes on in there. And we just don't find it to be a problem.
Yeah, I would imagine too much. Like if you were trying to do something deliberate, like put a fan or some kind of, it would be almost too much. Your blocks would dry out too quickly.
Yeah, and people have done that, and you're in fact right. I mean, it's like just like people thinking that they should put fans on wet flowers when you've harvested them. Not a very good idea. You know, we do anything to prevent having to harvest wet flowers, but to allow them to dry naturally in light sun instead of blowing them with a fan. And so, one of the things that I do to my soil blocks to help build strong seedlings once they've grown to about 1.5 to 2 inches where they've grown a good set of leaves and they're just kind of coming along, is I rub them. I just fluff the tops of them because that really builds strong stems. That resistance that they get by me kind of pushing them around like that really, really makes a big difference.
Yeah, I'm so glad to hear you say that, because I feel like that really sort of imitates the natural wind and breeze that they would be in the field. And
right.
So it's that people don't realize, that's a great way to kind of help build that strength. So I want to just interrupt for a second and say, everybody who's making comments, awesome. Thank you so much. That's how you're going to win tonight, is by making a comment down below. Lisa, show the book again. We'll show the book one more time. If you want to win this, we're pairing this with her online course about cool flowers. And Lisa's also generously giving us another pairing of courses on seed starting and was it Easy Cut
Flower Garden.
Yeah. So there's 2 prizes we're giving away, and we're going to randomly pick somebody. We've got people, up in the big office that are watching our episodes or watching our lives so they can figure out who the winner is. And so this is just a lot of fun. So let's see, and also I want to say for a second, and if you are really getting a lot out of this conversation, Lisa goes live on Instagram on Wednesdays.
Yep, Wednesdays at 11:30
Eastern. And then on Facebook you go live
either on Friday afternoons or Saturday mornings right now, so I can kind of have daylight, in the winter months. So Saturday mornings at 11.
And so Lisa does a lot of this Q&A type stuff and is there and available, just to kind of help, any pain points you might be having. We have another first-time grower in North Carolina.
Awesome.
It looks like Church Creek Farm. That's awesome. Debbie's Delight's getting seeds this week. She can't wait to start planting. We've got another person, bifocals are a pain. Sometimes bifocals are just not fun. But anyway, Connie's garden is saying that she planted her giant poppy seeds. They're not up. She direct seeded them. She's an 8B. Any thoughts?
Well, it takes, 7 to 14 days. So maybe she can comment here. And also the giant poppy pods, a little different than Iceland poppies, the actual little sprouts are kind of a burgundy color. So they are really hard to spot. I mean, I'm out there walking the dog around. I'm thinking, I'm going to check the poppies and see. And I am down there on the ground, like with my face up against the soil looking. And it's like, once you see one, it's like, oh my gosh, they're everywhere. Good plurum is kind of like that way too. So I would say if you haven't row covered them, if you just lay row cover directly on top of them, that's just to help them retain a little moisture and give them that extra little umph they might need to actually sprout. But poppies are really about the temperature. They need like 55 degrees. If she's in 8B, it's possible that she may still be a little too warm. We're having sporadic crazy warm days here, and that really interrupts direct seeding moving along like it should.
Yeah, because I think I'm technically now, I've moved south, so I think I'm in 8A, and we've had 60-degree weather.
Yeah.
And so that may be part of it. So let's see here. Okay, so encourage some Joe Jardin is encouraged the fact that you don't have hoop houses or greenhouses. And I think that is one thing that I know encouraged me when we were doing your interview, which if you haven't heard Lisa's interview on the podcast, go to your app, go to our website, theflowerpodcast.com, and you can hear Lisa's wonderful episode. Here's I can't Can't tell who this person is. LDK Knights too. Says she's in Ellen's course right now. And thank you for the podcast shout out. That is awesome. I'm sorry. North Lawn Flower Farm loves you. Okay, here we go. Love listening to you. Talking about you, Lisa.
It could be you.
It could be, but it's okay.
I'm sure.
I'm sure. Well, both. We'll say both of us. There we go. How do you deal with fungus gnats? You know, that's one of those things this time of year that it kind of goes back to the algae thing, doesn't it?
Right. Well, but fungus gnats are like the natural companion to seed starting. You know, so we've already been talking about this, and literally, I don't have a catalog here. There is literally a fungus gnat fighting kit in that catalog.
Yeah, let's see if I can find it.
I think it's on the page that says new stuff. Anyway, you'll see the little yellow sticky traps. So fungus gnats are present whenever you have wet soil, or you can actually, I mean, that's what we bring home in our fruit. I mean, they can come in a lot of different ways. What we do is the minute we starting seeds, we start treating for fungus gnats to prevent them. So there's two ways that you have to treat. Is one, it's called Gnatrol, Gnatrol. It's a powder. It's a BT, so it's there you go. It's a BT, so it's totally safe. And I put that in my watering can every Wednesday.
Okay.
And that way, so the fungus gnat larvae, the babies, live in the soil. So you have to attack it there. So by me just automatically watering the first time with Gnatrol and then doing it every Wednesday, I put it's like a teaspoon of that powder for a gallon of water. And if you're a home gardener or a small grower, you wouldn't even use a whole gallon. So that packet of powder lasts a really long time. So that way you shut down the reproduction of the gnats. Mm-hmm. Secondly, the yellow sticky traps, which are in fact really a monitoring tool. So you kind of hang that so that when the gnats fly back and forth, they're attracted to the yellow and you catch them. So that way you're getting the adults as well as you're stopping them from reproducing. You can even just lay, the sticky traps used to be the bane of my existence. I mean, I would always hit them on my hands and you get sticky stuff all over you.
A hot mess.
But I have learned that it's even effective to just lay the sticky traps in your trays because they land on the soil and that way you're not really interfering with them. I mean, I bet I have rigged up more stuff trying to figure out how to do those sticky traps. And then I was here listening to some professor at a university talk about them. And he said, you know, just laying them on the surface of your shelf really works great. And I thought, bingo, that's what I'm doing. So
funny. Sometimes,
So fungus gnats are just always present. So you just need to be proactive and prevent them from getting out of control.
Well, you know, and you mentioned it kind of when you started, and even if you don't see them at first, go ahead and put the sticky traps up because it's a good indicator, you know, of watching the population that, you know, whether it's growing or not. So
right. So we water our soil blocks immediately with the Gnatrol the very first time, so that we're right at, because they're coming. You know, it's a preventative thing. If you allow them to get out of control, this happened to us either this last summer or the summer before. I am telling you, it was horrible. I mean, it just makes you want to pull your hair out. So you just don't want that to happen. And it's really easy to prevent. And it's natural, so you don't have to worry about that part of it. So why not do it? Sure. And that's what the state I'm in now. We just prevent them from getting out of control.
Well, we have a question from looks like Hosanna Homestead. So I'm guessing they're way down maybe in Homestead, Florida, because they're talking about their dahlias and they're already big and they're wondering, they're tuber grown, can they go ahead and stake them? Is it too late? They forgot to. What do you think? I feel like you can stake them anytime. You just have to kind of work with them.
You can stake them anytime. It's not as effective as they're more mature. You know, they don't look as great sometimes after you've been messing in them. But I would recommend that I don't use what's called corralling by using stakes and string. I use netting, but it's too late for netting.
Right.
But if you go to a search engine or go to YouTube and search that, corralling dahlias, you'll find plenty of good examples of how to do that, because you can certainly do that after they're mature, for sure.
Sure, sure. Okay, so I'm just going to try to see real quick here. A lot of great comments.
So while you're looking, I'll just talk about
yeah.
cool flowers. Cool flowers, for anybody that's not familiar, are for cool season hardy annuals. That's what the name of my book is, about those. That those of us that you may have already planted some in the fall, because many of us can fall plant them. Our winters, they will survive. But what a lot of people don't understand is that everybody can plant cool flowers in very early spring. And very early spring is like 6 to 8 weeks before your last spring frost, long before you can plant, warm season stuff like zinnias and coxcomb and sunflowers and such. So we are really going into the season, especially if you live in winter hardiness zones 5, 4, and 3. We have so many growers and farmers up in Canada in zone 3 that they just first thought that cool flowers didn't apply to them. But then they realized, oh my gosh, these are the flowers that I can plant weeks earlier than other flowers and get flowers even earlier. So cool flowers applies to everybody.
Yeah, I love that. And I love when we did our interview too. You talked about, this is not something that's brand new. This is something that's been around for hundreds of years.
Our grandmas did it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Right. Well, we are getting flooded with great questions. And so if I miss it, I apologize. We'll try to go back and see if we can somehow answer them later. Just because there's so many great questions. A lot of people talking about the Gnat kits, and they're excited about that. I know there's a soil block mix.
Yes. So people can find, we sell the ready-made mix. And in fact, we just called today and ordered several pallets because we're just flying through soil. But we always offer the recipe that you can make the homemade version on our website. It's always there under the Learning Center. There's actually a category called All Things Soil Blocking. And on there is the recipe, as well as a bunch of videos to give tips on soil blocking, from watering to, all kinds of question solving, problem solving, we hope. But it's this time of year for seed starting. We're getting ready to fire up our stuff in about a week.
Oh, that's great. Well, we have some people following us from Australia, which, of course, they're going into their fall, right?
Right.
Well, they're in the middle of their summer right now.
Yes.
So you can be getting ready for cool flowers in just 4 months.
Yeah. Well, we have a lot of folks down in Australia that we've connected with. And there are a lot of cool flowers being grown down in Australia. They've been able to get the book through, Amazon, and so that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, and everybody, I know we're having a lot of people comment on the quality of these courses that you offer. And some people have taken every one of them or are in the process of taking some they haven't taken, which I think is just a really great reflection on what the quality of the courses bring.
Well, thank you. And I was did my last wrap up because our school courses, we have live coaching Q&As with the instructors with the students, which is a really unique part of our classes. That's what we really want to offer that to folks. And so I was having a heart-to-heart with my students. This year's class was larger than we have ever had. It's just huge. And I was telling them, because I myself take online courses. That's how I learned to produce online courses. And I have a business coach that I do online with. And I told them that the first time you go through an online course like this that are just packed with information, you think it's the best thing you've ever had, but what they don't really realize is that what you're gaining while you're going to school is like less than 20% of the potential that you have moving forward. Because as you start building your business and things change, you're going to say, you know what? Wasn't there something in that course about that? Because you're not even listening to that today because you're so overwhelmed focusing on a step that you're working on now.
Oh, right.
So the courses become more and more relevant to you, as well as our closed Facebook groups. You join the alumni group, and our instructors are in there with our students. So, you know, they're not as often, but you can still be in there and ask your instructor questions. So we are just continuing to build more and more ways for people to really feel like they can get their questions answered and be supported by the other members. Because here's the really cool thing. So now we just finished my 3rd year of having an online school class. So when these folks get put into the alumni group, all of the folks that are already in the alumni group have been farming and working and building their businesses for 2 years. And they are so great about supporting the newbies, you know, and you know, we say to people, yeah, there's a lot of closed Facebook groups that people are a member of. But when you're in a group with people that have done what you've done, put skin in the game, paid money to go to a course, to learn from professional instructors that are successful in the business, that they're there with you instead of, because so many of the problems that we have in a lot of the groups is we have folks that, you know, just really haven't run a successful business yet, right? Answering questions. And I can't intercede when those things happen because there's just not enough time in the day. But it just leads people so astray. And people spend a lot of money and sweat and blood and tears. And so we're just really trying to build communities for people to truly build profitable businesses based on information from people that have done it, you know, that have done it for years and years. Jenny Love's new course, that's an on-demand course that people can get at any time, is on our workshops right for you. And she made that course during COVID. So it shows people how should you be teaching workshops, how you can do it on your farm or at a destination. How do you get people? How do you do it in COVID? It's like, could be one of the most profitable things you've ever done on your business. And it's just awesome. I mean, I could just go on for days about our courses because.
Well, I mean, and you have every right to. I mean, you've done a great job.
Thank you.
We're just getting slammed with all these. You're used to this probably, all these great questions. Somebody's asking about, do you lift your dahlias? And then what do you do about dahlia gall?
Okay, so I'm in 8A just like you, Scott. So in fact, we can winter over dahlias, which is what we've done for many years. But in fact, I don't grow dahlias anymore. And it's not that they aren't a wonderful crop, and we had customers for them, but it just, when they're at their peak, we have other interests to pursue, and they are a lot of work. Not a lot of, and they're worth every penny. They're one of the highest cash crops for us. So I do not know what to tell you about dahlia gall, except that I think you have to eliminate them. You have to, you know, trash those tubers. But, you know, you can leave them in the ground in 8A. And I'll tell you that Linda Doan, who is an amazing flower farmer, she's an ASCFG. She's the one that got me to start overwintering. She's in Tennessee, zone 7, and she overwinters her dahlias. She mulches them and she digs a few as an insurance policy. But once you leave your dahlias in the ground, if you're in zone 7, 8, or 9, you won't believe how much bigger and better they are each year. Yeah. So it's worth experimenting.
That's cool. Well, some germination questions about Ammomalgus, the Queen Anne's lace, soil block. I guess any tips for germination for that?
So Queen Anne's lace, which is, if they're talking about Daucus, which is the carrot family.
Right.
So
I think
the
they're
way
talking
that
about the annual, is it Amy? I always mispronounce.
Magus.
Yeah.
Magus. So Magus and Daucus are both very much the same. The
Okay.
way that I've had great success germinating them indoors is we recommend using a seedling heat mat or a germination chamber. Sometimes I use both. Anyway, that's a long discussion. But anyway, we put everybody on the seedling heat mat right when they're first planted in a soil block. However, the Magus and the Daucus, we only leave on the seedling heat mat for 24 hours. We have found that they just warms them up, and that kind of starts the process. And then we take them off the seedling heat mat and just put them over on a shelf in the grow room where it's like 65 to 70 degrees, and they germinate like blooming ghosts, but I mean like gangbusters. It is just crazy. So 24 hours on, take them off the seedling heat mat, but without that seedling heat mat boost, they tend to take a really long time, and we have great success with that.
Leggy snapdragons.
Low light. Whenever you have seedlings stretching for whatever, they start to get kind of tall and lanky, they are stretching for light. And I am by no means a light expert. And I tell people that all the time. I just know the kind that I use and have great success with. I prefer, there's T12s, T8s, T5s, and there's LEDs, to my knowledge. Again, I am not a lighting expert. I'm not a fan of LED because they don't produce any warmth onto the trays underneath of them.
Right.
T5s are super hot, and I have some of those, but they are not my preference. You have to have them really far away from your seedlings, or you literally will cook your babies alive in just a few hours. So T5s would be my next to last choice. T8s and T12s are what I typically use, and T12s are what we sell because they produce some heat, enough, that little added warmth that your seedlings need to kind of grow. And you put the light is only like 2 inches above the seedling. But when you have plants stretching, they are stretching for light, and you give them 16 hours of light a day. Less than that, and they start stretching. We grow, I just wished I had some transplants here to show you. Plants that are this tall, that are 4 weeks old, that are green and healthy because they've been under those grow lights. If they'd have been in low light situation like what they kind of described, they'd be 12 inches tall, lanky, they look yellow. There's nothing you can do to fix that except move them closer to the light, or get better quality light, or fix the light situation.
And then do you move I assume you move this is a crazy question. I should know the answer to this. Do you move it up as they grow, or do you leave it at the same level?
You can, and so that's a really good question, because our grow lights are in fact on chains. So we use those stainless steel racks that you see in the big box stores that have wheels on them, but I have more shelves on mine so they can be closer together, because our lights can be almost right on top of the babies. So our lights are about this far away from the top of the soil blocks. We move our seed because they're soil blocked, which means they grow a little bit quicker because their roots just get so much oxygen. We turn seedlings so quickly that back in the day when I was learning, I did do a lot of light moving. But now, they are moved. Once they get this big, we move them out to the carport to start hardening them off, to move them, because we have more seedlings coming along. So we find that sometimes we can move a little bit of the lights. And the other thing I want to say, which is just confusing, but I do have some T5 lights. They're the ones that are really hot, and they're like 20 inches away from the tray. So that kind of, if something gets too tall, we can just move them to the T5s.
Okay.
But I do not like T5s. Boy, are they hot.
Yeah, and that can be too much. Again, just everyone who has made a comment, you have been entered into our giveaway. Yes, that Cool Flowers book and some of the courses. And so this is going to be our final call to make sure you get, if you just joined us late, to this amazing live. Thank you so much, Lisa. If you put a comment in there, we're going to be cutting it off here real soon. I wanted to say, as far as, I know that your courses aren't open all the time. Mm-hmm. And so, and now, and a lot of that is because, you're busy, actually in class. You're in class now, or your instructors are in class. Right. And so what are you working on now? What's coming down the pipeline? What's anything you can share now?
Sure. So we do have, I can't share the title and who the instructor is, but we have a couple of on-demand courses that are in the making that are going to blow your doors off. That I actually, Suzanne showed me. Suzanne is my sister. She's the one that oversees all the courses and processes them and works with the instructors. And she showed me a practice video that was submitted by the instructor. Oh my gosh. I said, we're going to use that for a commercial. I mean, that is like so awesome.
That's awesome.
Anyway, so we have another couple of on-demand courses coming down the pike. And to answer your question about why schools are at certain times, I mean, everybody that teaches these classes have businesses,
right?
And so we have to work around that. And frankly, we were proposed another school, but we don't have the calendar time to actually run another school at this time. We know that flower farmers, they farm in the summer. All season long, and then the floral designers, they have specific, people. So we're trying to accommodate the instructors, the potential students, and because, so we have something going on all the time, although it may not seem like it. But what I would recommend to people, if they're at all interested, is just to go to our website, thegardenersworkshop.com,
yes,
and go to the online courses, and just signing up to be notified just means you're on that email list.
Yeah.
And that way we won't let you miss it. And you get a lot of great information. But I will tell you that the greenhouse course and Ellen's course, which we didn't really have much time to really promote them. I mean, this old pandemic has messed up so much, you know that?
Yeah.
And anyway, so the time will be here. And Scott, I know that we talked about this the last time, but are you listening? I have 6 podcasts recorded.
Oh, good for you.
So when I last talked to Scott, I think I said November it was going to be launched. Well, the courses that Suzanne has been working on, they're still consuming her.
Yeah.
So I have just completed the 6th recording, and as soon as she buttons up her courses, getting them all loaded into the libraries, we'll be going live with the Field and Garden podcast. And I'm so stoked. Now that I've started, I can't shut up. I just cannot wait, because we're talking business, flower farming, gardening, farm dogs. It's just going to be so fun.
Well, good for you. That's exciting. Yeah. Well, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to tell my secret people to start tabulating our winners. I'm glad you mentioned thegardenersworkshop.com, because some people are asking how can they get more information. I know Lisa also just said this, but I want to say it again. Get on her email list. One of the benefits that I'm on the list, I love, is that, sometimes you just forget about things. Sometimes you're so busy in the weeds that you don't, you forget, oh, it's time for me to be thinking about this. And then here comes Lisa's email, and, she's like, don't forget, this is what we're doing, and you need to be thinking about this, or, do you have your sunflower seeds, or whatever, the time of year is. And so, anyways, I just want to make sure that everybody knows about that.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then also I want to mention tomorrow we have Allison Ellis as our guest at 6 o'clock tomorrow night. And we're giving away a couple copies of her new book, Falling into Flowers, which this book is not a very big book, but you would think the amount of information in this book, it should be this big, because it is packed with, every page has just really practical, really great insights, and you're going to want to win a copy. Plus, you know, it's always fun hanging out with Allison too. So anyway, but Lisa, thank you so much for jumping on here. There's been so many great comments. People excited to hear that you are recording podcasts. That's awesome. I know this platform is exploding. I know I'm excited because we're actually talking about producing additional podcasts as well. It's going to be a lot of fun, I think. I'm trying to see if there's any questions.
I see that somebody's talking about Jenny's on-demand course, and this is the time of year that folks need to really be thinking about, can I do workshops? How can I do a workshop? And how do you find people to sign up? So that's a really great one for people to consider this time of the year.
Well, I don't know how many guests we had this year through this crazy pandemic that stress the importance of multiple streams of income, you know, there's multiple lines of income, and trying to, you know, find ways to diversify and to offer that. Because, you know, it's so funny. It's like, you know, a lot of times people have mindset issues when they go to start teaching. You know, are they qualified? Are they the person that needs to be saying it? But the thing about it is even, you know, to beginners, you may be an expert in something, and it's not about sharing what you don't know. It's about sharing what you do know. And it's like, you know, you can find an audience to connect with. And I was really excited to see that course.
Yeah. So I think that's a real gift to the community on doing that.
So here's an interesting question while we're waiting. One of the things was starting sweet peas in zone 10. I couldn't see if it was A or B. I kind of flew by too quick. Do you grow sweet peas?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we don't grow a lot of them anymore I mean, they aren't a real moneymaker commercial crop. It's very limited. But we grow them for personal use as well as for our members only market. And they're really, I mean, the secret for those of us in the South, you know, if you're living below the Mason-Dixon line, which is like Maryland over across the country, we fall plant them and we get a good 5 or 6 weeks of beautiful blooms. Yeah, you can too.
Well, I've tried and I've not done it correctly. So one of these days I'm going to try again when I'm at a place I can do it. And sweet peas are one of my favorites that I've always wanted to grow. And I'm determined to grow sweet peas, even if I have to move up north. I don't know.
You don't have to, Scott. I'm telling you, you just plant them in like October. You start them inside a couple weeks earlier, plant them out. And I'm telling you, we grow them like blooming weeds up here.
Wow. Yeah, I'm definitely motivated to do it. Okay, so I don't want to destroy anybody's name, but I have the 2 winners here. So the first winner is R. Felkner. That is the Instagram account. So if you're on here, so let us know if you're on here still. I'm going to scroll to the bottom. And if you're not, that's okay. We're going to reach out to you anyway, so it's all good. And our second winner is Petal Pickers. And so Petal Pickers is going to win the 2 online courses. And I think, there's our flag. Yay! So I'm just curious, what's your name and where are you located? And she's here or he's here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you can I'd love to know. And then Petal Pickers, if you're here, if not, we'll reach out to you as well. And we're really excited for this. And thank you so much, Lisa, for doing this. This has been a lot of fun. And it's always great to talk to you.
Hey, thank you so much for asking me. And I wanted to say your Christmas tree is beautiful in the background there.
I know. It's like, we have so much fun putting up Christmas. We're always slow because I'm allergic to Christmas greenery. We have artificial, so we get to enjoy it a little bit longer. And since we're doing these giveaways, we're going to leave it up and have it here. So yeah.
So Daniel's on here too from Petal Pickers. He chimed in.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Well, congratulations for you two winners, and DM me your information. Oh, I'll probably DM you first, but that's great. So anyway, thanks so much, Lisa. Always great. Have a good
My
evening.
pleasure, and have a happy new year, Scott. We'll be talking, I'm sure.
I'm sure. All right. Take care.
Thank you. Ciao.
Bye-bye.